I immediately knew I'd fucked up in what I was saying, because I was right. She was right. I didn't know. I didn't know what she went through. And actually a lot of my teen years was making sure I didn't become 16 and pregnant.
So taking that away could also eliminate privacy for women who are seeking to get help in this area. So breaking all HIPAA laws, which I'm fucking stupid.
That's the first step to dictatorship. Even though it might seem small, it could mean a huge thing down the line. It's your choice, your freedom. And this is what this country is supposed to be about. And they're just destroying our freedom one step at a time.
I do want to put out there that Asparagus asked me to do this. I was like, yeah, I know a lot about this. I can do it. And then after I had already typed everything up, he's like, yeah, I just wanted you to mansplain it to everyone. And I'm like, I hate you. I hate you so much.
I know you do.
But I was asked to do a job, and I have a job. So yes, what is Roe versus Wade? Well, the Roe is for Jane Roe, which was a pseudonym used to protect her identity. And even though you can find it online, I'm still going to just use that and protect her identity. But she was a single pregnant woman from Texas. And as we all know, Texas has a little bit of backwards-idity to them. But Texas had a law making abortions illegal unless they were deemed necessary by a doctor to save the woman's life. Well, Roe filed a lawsuit against Henry Wade, who just happened to be the district attorney of Dallas County. Her reasoning was that Texas abortion laws were unconstitutional and did not account for personal privacy. Well, her case went before the Texas Supreme Court, and they ruled in her favor. And then they appealed to have it go to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court also ruled in Roe's favor with a 7-2 vote and ruled that due process clause of the 14th Amendment includes a right to privacy for any woman who chooses to have an abortion. But this ruling was not absolute, and that it must be governed further by the state in which the woman resides. And they added some stipulations in there, so they categorized it as the trimesters of the pregnancy. During the first trimester, governments could not prohibit abortions at all. And during the second trimester, governments could require reasonable health regulations. And during the third trimester, abortions could be prohibited entirely so long as the law contained exceptions for cases that were when they are necessary to save the life or health of the mother. That's the basic what all happened. Since then, there has been many other Supreme Court cases that have fought it, but it's held for the most part up until now. And overturning it could cause a lot of chaos for a lot of states in the country, as many states in the Bible Belt, including my state of Wisconsin, would probably overturn it and make abortions illegal, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more. But one thing as a healthcare worker that I really want to point out is this protected women's privacy. This added a clause that said the amendment, 14th Amendment, also covers this. So taking that away could also eliminate privacy for women who are seeking to get help in this area. So breaking all HIPAA laws, which I'm fucking stupid. So that's Agathon's mansplaining of Roe versus Wade.
That's gonna be a segment on YouTube, by the way.
God
I'm gonna cut this out, of course. That title is so perfect.
I hate you. I hate you.
By the way, yes, Agathon is a healthcare worker. I think we should have mentioned that earlier, and I think it might have some impact in his perspective. That being said, I'm quite happy to, now that we have the facts, now that I hope that everyone that's not from the United States understand what we are talking about. There has been a push lately that we keep hearing about in the latest weeks for the Supreme Court of the USA that want to overturn this law. And we are now going to talk about what it means, what it will impact, and what my guests think about this. Is it a good idea? Is it a terrible idea? Is it very stupid? Is it something that needs to be done? So any of you would just want to jump in? I've prepared a few questions that I've sent you. I don't want to use them, but if I feel we need some bit of guidance, I will jump in with questions. But I really want to let you all have a discussion about this. So anyone wants to jump in first? Otherwise, I'll point at someone.
I mean, as far as it goes, with Agaton saying, not only is it going to do the HIPAA violations and stuff, it makes no sense to overturn. It is protection for women. I did go into, I live in Michigan, and I went into kind of like my state and how it would work for somebody in my state if this is overturned. And as somebody who doesn't have universal health care, the numbers are absolutely ridiculous as far as just the cost in general if they didn't have the ability to that safe and legal abortion. And I don't know if you want me to go into that exactly.
Yeah. Anything you prepared.
So in the state of Michigan, our minimum wage is $9.87. So
whoa, it is $15 in Canada, by the way. Just gonna say that.
It was only $9.87. So
in Quebec, not in Canada.
To qualify.
$7.25 here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
What?
It's the minimum wage is low in America in general. In Michigan, to qualify for the state-assisted health care, you have to be between the ages of 19 and 64 and make less than $16,000 a year for a single person. Now, you are not required, your employer is not required to supply you with health care through your job if you work less than 30 hours a week. So if they keep you at 29 hours a week, which a lot of employers will, to not have to give you those benefits, and you're making $11 an hour, that's going to bring you at $16,588. You are now $588 over what you could qualify for Michigan health insurance. So then if you go out with your friends and your contraceptive fails, so on and so forth, you now have a child and you're only making $16,000 a year and you have no health insurance through the state and your job is not required to provide that. So not only do you then have to figure out how to pay for all of your healthcare expenses and everything like that, which a traditional birth is $13,000 on average and a C-section is $22,000 on average.
Damn.
It's also not required by law to give you family medical leave assistance or maternity leave. You're paying an average of 35% of your check, or $8,000 for childcare a month. And if you want to buy health coverage, it's about $406 a month. And you're only bringing home $319 a week at $11 an hour, not including taxes and everything else.
So having a baby is fucking expensive.
It is. It is very expensive. And if your employer can screw you over by keeping you at that 29 hours a week and not offering you health care and everything like that, you're just screwed in general. And it's not as easy as going out and finding a new job, because you then have to get into, you're required to work this many hours to get FMLA, you're required to be at the job for this long to get it, so on and so forth. So unless you're seated at a good job with those benefits before a mistake happens, you're screwed.
And I would just like to go ahead and point out that even if you are lucky enough to be employed at a job that covers even decent health insurance, they are not required to cover contraception for women. They do not have to cover birth control at all.
They do not.
So that would mean that the woman would need to pay for birth control out of pocket. And she's already broke down the cost for you.
But do you know who
Elish,
doesn't
you're
have any problem
muted,
getting
by the way,
pills?
Elish. I see you were trying to talk, but there's no sound coming from you. Same.
Right, I knew that one.
At least we didn't hear that one too.
We could tell with that one.
I would also like to add in kind of a key argument I see a lot of people talking about for why they are for this. And typically, a good majority of the time, they bring their religion into it, their beliefs. And I just want, before we go any further into this debate, especially for those who aren't from America, America has an amendment that says the House, you know, the government is over here, and there is a brick wall between your religion so that there can be freedom of religion. So any arguments that have to do with your feelings about your religion are, for me, invalid. So
That is
This
Constitution invalid.
this is
it's
not the
a-
impression we get from
about-
outside the USA. I just gonna say, the impression we get is that the USA is mainly governed by religious concerns. Maybe we are wrong about this, but this is how it looks like. Welcome back, Elish.
still muted.
Yeah, I went to
There you go.
go fix my mic and I turned off my camera. But no, and the thing is, one of the biggest problems with that cost for healthcare is that they calculate the amount for like wages and everything before taxes. So that's not including that the 15 to 30% that you get taken out of your paycheck every week from just the taxes. So it's not only, so you might be making about $9, $11, $15 an hour, depending on where you live. It goes down to like 7 or 9 or 13 just because of those taxes. So you may qualify, but they don't calculate the taxes for that state or federal funded healthcare.
And I know in chat somebody did say that there's a federal law requiring employers to give you maternity leave, but it does not require for that leave to be paid. And I don't know about anybody else here, but I know as a single person, I'm no longer single, but I know when I was a single person, I couldn't go 6 weeks without a paycheck and still be able to pay my bills and care for a newborn child. There was
I don't know.
And
Oh.
even as someone who recently had a kid, no paternity leave, I couldn't help with my child. And then my wife had to take out short-term disability in order to take the time off she required, which only offers 75% of her paycheck for a certain amount of weeks, and then it's 50%, and then it's nothing. So yeah, it's, at least you're getting something. But yeah, you're SOL if you're living paycheck to paycheck.
And that's not bringing in things like communities of poverty where certain resources like Planned Parenthood are far out of reach. Transportation is far out of reach, right? When we're talking about people who are making decisions to have abortion, you can make that decision for in my opinion, for any reason that you might want. It could be because you simply don't want to have a baby or you don't have the means to have a baby. And if you don't have the means to have a baby, this is what Moose has been breaking down for us. The cost of living directly impacts our ability to raise children. And if you already are working at a job where you're not able to take care of yourself and you get pregnant and you decide that this isn't something that you can equally and fairly take care of another child for, you should, and only you, should have the right to make that choice for yourself. That is not something that the government should have a hand in. Because can you tell me
the government's not paying our bills?
Yeah, the government's not coming in to pay our bills. And the government also, what's it to them? That's my biggest thing is what's it to you if I have a baby or not? Does it directly affect anyone around me other than myself? I don't believe so. I don't believe anybody else should be a part of that decision. That is my bodily autonomy.
Is it more like some posturing to religious conservatives? Just that, as you said, as a government official, it doesn't change a damn thing in your life if some of your constituents have baby or do not. But if you allow for abortion, the what seems from the outside, again, I'm talking as an outsider, so I'm ready to have tomatoes thrown at me, but what seems to be like the very loud and very vocal religious people might throw you out of office and put someone in your place. So is it just selfish government officials that just want to keep their place and just trying to go with the vocal people are going for? Like just
Well, the thing
big posturing?
is, well, if the thing is, our government, most of our government is comprised of older people, which usually the saying goes, older, more experienced, more wiser. But they also don't see that they are taking their experiences from when they were growing up and trying to force it on to people nowadays. And the thing is, this is the worst possible time for them to push for an overturn on the Roe versus Wade, because we just went through a major baby boom because of the pandemic issue. Because literally, people practically had nothing to do other than gaming and having intimacy with their partners.
I could jump in here. There was actually like a 61 or 64% decrease in.
I saw that too.
Yes.
Really?
There's actually a decrease. They were expecting a baby boom in the pandemic, but it actually dropped much lower. I saw that too.
Oh, then it must have been just my state then, because which I grew up in Georgia and I live in Florida, so I live in practically the heart of the Bible Belt. So, and we have some of the strictest laws on abortion and miscarriages and everything like that. So it might have been just some of my states that, and not really y'all's.
But also, as from what we heard, the pandemic did not happen in Florida anyway, so.
Ha, very funny.
And I would also just like to point out that there is across America, there is a 43% of baby formula missing from all grocery stores. There's a 43% of stockage of baby formula just not available to mothers. I am seeing baby formula posted online for upwards of $40 a can that you could buy for $12.99 at Walmart.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah, it is exactly. And the thing is, I work at Walmart, so I go past the baby formula every single day. They actually just put a restriction on the baby formula because we are getting such a limited stock in that we can only give maybe 5 containers out per family per week. And it's really hard because that you have the WIC issue and everything like that, because now Walmart is actually restricting on the WIC as well for the baby formula because we just don't have it in stock. So we cannot give you the 10 or 15 that you need for that entire month because we have that restrictions.
Just to be super fair, go ahead.
I was going to say, so in the midst of a formula shortage, we're going to attempt to overturn Roe v. Wade. We're going to attempt to force full-term pregnancies on the women and all uterine, because I just want to take a second to point out that this is not just women's rights issue. This is also a rights of transgender people who are transitioning, because it happens where people who are transitioning have become pregnant, and in the middle of their transition, they have to make a decision of whether or not to carry on with that pregnancy or to abort that pregnancy. And I would just like to go ahead and say this is also a people of color issue as well, because women of color are far more substantially subjected to things. They're 3 times more subjected to mortality rates in pregnancy. There's so much more that this hits. It's not just women. It's people of color. It's transgender people. It's anybody out there that holds a uterine and could possibly carry a baby.
This, I'm already learning a lot, and I'm kind of shocked with most of what I heard. Just want to point one thing that doesn't seem to be a specific problem to the United States. We also have some shortages in Canada of many things. One of those, I talked with one of my friends. I will not name her, but one of my Discord friend, she is having a lot of trouble to find medication for her sick children right now, and she's in Canada, for God's sakes. So there are shortages. She cannot get the medication she needs for her sick little children, and this really sucks. So that one point seems to be widespread. Somebody brought the baby formula. Is that actually something you need when you have a baby, or can you just make food for your baby yourself? I know from my own experience, I'm from a family of 4. I have 3 sisters, and from my deepest memories, I might be wrong, I feel this is something that was never bought in my home, and my mom always made us all the food. Is that something that's possible? Was it a problem in my home, or is it something easier that people are kind of used to having right now? Agathon?
Speaking on the development of the child, in the first 6 months, they need one of 2 things: breast milk or formula. And the formula contains all the vitamins and minerals and iron that they need in order to start developing and growing. That is one of the most important areas in a human being's life, is those first 6 months. So much happens. They can't eat regular food until they're cleared, which is anywhere between 4 months to 7 months. So yeah, you need breast milk or you need formula. And if you don't have either of those things, your baby can run into a lot of problems. They can become anemic. If they don't get folic acid, their central nervous system couldn't fully develop. There's so much that can happen that most people don't have access to all of these different medications to give them. So having formula or having breast milk is the most important thing. And I always hear, it always comes from women, and I'm sorry to hear this, of people like, I breastfed my baby. Why can't these mothers just breastfeed? Bitch, sometimes they can't. All right? Sometimes women have smaller breasts that can't hold very much milk, and babies need to be fed every 2 hours. 2 to 4 hours all the way through that first 6 months, almost. And sometimes it hurts. It physically hurts the mother to produce milk and continue to do this. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
What
you know,
if they
you're
just don't
working.
want
And that is a perfect reason.
That
is a very valid reason.
That, and they're also not including that the way that the mother is raised, their health problems, or if they're a single mother. That is a big issue with the baby formula, especially for single mothers, which is a more common thing nowadays. Because the single mother needs to work, and she does not have the time to breastfeed that child or pump their milk, because they're having to work 8 hours a day. That way they can provide for their child. So breast formula.
So many facilities that people work at do not give mothers the area to pump. They have to go in the bathroom to pump for their child.
Exactly.
Is that still a thing?
Yeah,
that is still a fucking thing.
This is illegal in Canada. You're not allowed to do that in Canada now.
We have a room inside our bathroom at my work that is traditionally a janitor's supply closet, and they put a nice little sign on the door with a mother and baby deer. They call it the lactation station.
Should I say how sweet? Because that just sounds insulting. No offense.
Yeah, and then it's like, you know, if the door is locked, keep it locked. Don't lock it behind you for the next person. And I work in a predominantly male field. We don't have, in my department, I am the only female, and you know, that's just what we do. We have to go into the women's bathroom and go into this little storage area that they've cleaned up, and they put a little table and a chair for us, and that's where we go.
Do you know what's fucked up is I work at a hospital. We don't have one. There's not a place for mothers to do that at.
Really?
They have to either go up to the nursery and actually use that, or they just whip their boobs out in the break room and start pumping. How embarrassing for the mother. It's just, yay, healthcare.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, the controversy of women getting all this backlash because they breastfeed, because of the same people that are trying to overturn this Roe versus Wade. They also want go after mothers that do breastfeed. So it's also a mental issue, because oh, I and the insecurities of that mother, because they don't want to breastfeed, because they don't want to be looked as a bad mother because they breastfeed, which is totally ridiculous.
You know, I will admit I haven't really heard that. I've heard the argument on the other side where
next.
people who don't breastfeed are bad mothers. Like, you're not breastfeeding, you're a bad mother. I breastfed. So I've heard that. I haven't heard
I've
the other
seen
argument.
both. I've seen
Yeah,
both.
it
of
was
them.
really, it was
And-
really bad where I grew up, because I lived out in the country in Georgia, and there was a church on every corner and
Girl,
everything
you
like
need
that.
to move.
Oh no,
Well,
that's why I'm
let's-
in Florida. I moved to Florida. I got out of that situation.
Girl, that's not
but-
better.
Hey, at least
Well-
I live closer to the city, but anyway, and they basically said, oh, if you breastfeed your child, you're basically committing incest. And I was like, whoa, yeah, that kind of issue.
I've heard that a lot too. I watch a lot of debate shows, and you have the typical Christian conservative that would come and bring that a lot. Ash has been trying to jump in for a long time now, so I'll give you.
just
the
Well,
can't.
floor.
it's
I
just a
can't
lot
wrap
of.
my
It,
brain around.
I can't either. I mean, I've heard a lot of both. I want to make something very, very, very clear. I am not surprised when I heard about people trying to overturn Roe v. Wade. It's been a topic that has been a topic in America for long, long, long time. But also a reason why I'm not surprised is because I put a little like bubble here. This applies to some men, like to men too, but women's bodies in general over the land before time has been policed by others. What we dress, how we dress, what we do with our bodies has always been policed. And the biggest thing that I like to mention is our body hair. I have been bullied for having hairy arms as a woman since middle school. I have been told I need to have my legs shaved. I've been told I need to wear a bra at a certain age by other people. I have been told I need to shave my underarms because it's uncleanly, even though that doesn't make sense because men have those things. So why can't I? What besides me
'Cause
having a
we are
different
dirty.
body,
We are
like,
dirty and disgusting.
and it's one of the things that breaks my heart because I work as a massage therapist. It breaks my heart for someone to have to come to me and be like, a woman come to me and say, I am so sorry. I didn't shave my legs. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you do realize I have men clients who don't shave. They don't have to shave. Don't come to me and apologize because you feel a certain way about it because I'm not. I tell people that I caringly don't care about certain things that they do. Because you should care about
That's well
some
said.
things, but you should not care about others. And I think this is a great example of things you shouldn't care about because it's not somewhere you should be putting your nose into.
And I just
Agreed.
want to jump right back to the breastfed versus formula really quick because there's something that I feel is important for viewers to know is I don't know if you kind of caught the drift. I'm kind of all about talking about communities of poverty. I would just like to say that my sex ed education in high school did not teach me a one lick about breastfeeding. Not how to breastfeed, not how to make sure the temperatures are right, how long breast milk can set out. I was not taught anything about breastfeeding. In fact, I was taught how much baby formula is, but I was not taught anything about breastfeeding. So I would just like to say that a lot of the reasons why we look at moms and be like, well, why can't you just breastfeed? Well, because formula is what is advocated to in typical sex ed educations, especially those of lesser communities. I wouldn't say that people in smaller communities or poorer communities are educated on the benefits of breast milk and why it's important or taught how to do that. However, I would say that when it comes to Planned Parenthood, a lot of the times it's looked at as just that's where people go to for abortions, right? That's all it is. It's just people who support people who want to get abortions. Planned Parenthood is so much more. I was provided a lactation nurse to come to my house twice a week to show me how to produce breast milk for my daughter, all supplied for by Planned Parenthood for free. So when it comes to talking about defunding Planned Parenthood, who is the number one, I would say, at least for me in my area that I know of, I can go to for an abortion, they do so much more than that. They also provide for people who are participating in a pregnancy, who are participating in choosing to go forth with a full-term pregnancy and give labor and have their child. But that doesn't mean that the option shouldn't still be there. I just wanted to bring it back because I was not taught anything about breast milk until I had Planned Parenthood at my door teaching me about it.
And
Well,
I
it's
will say that a lot of Planned Parenthood everyone thinks about, like you said, is abortions. They don't do that many. Most of the time
No.
when people come in, they actually start with patient teaching, which is a huge part of it. These people are scared. They think they only have one option. And it comes down to it, Planned Parenthood probably stops more abortions than anything because they start giving these women ways to help themselves. They show them what they can do.
Is it
they can
good
make
or
sure
bad?
they're healthy.
Okay, is it good or bad? Is it helping, or is it propaganda trying to somehow stop them from their decision? Because again, outside of United States, we've heard about the story of women trying to go for an abortion, and then they've showed some really disgusting videos of things that just to scare them the fuck away from them, try to change their mind and say that's what you're about to do. And then I've heard, maybe that's a lie, but some states that require you to sit down through some trainings or webinar or videos of very disgusting you need to watch in order to be allowed to have an abortion, just to freak you out of it and to try to change your
probably
mind about it.
depends on where you go. Like, if we're gonna like, actually, I'm also in Wisconsin, so I can imagine it's completely different than what Hellish is experiencing in Florida. The United States is so big. Everyone's experiencing so many different things. Even, I'm gonna guess even Agathon and I have completely two different educations and learn completely two different things, even just being in the same state. I like that's one of the things where when we talk about politics, you have to think about everything. And education's one of those things, especially in this topic, that it applies to education, access, poverty levels, race, and everywhere you go, it's different.
Yeah, especially because the thing is, I agree with Ginger. I took sexual education 3 times during school, twice in middle school and once in high school, and all 3 times, the only thing that we ever discussed related to pregnancy or intimacy relationships was birth control, condoms, STDs. We didn't go over prenatal development, no nothing. So, and the thing is, we actually had 2 girls that got pregnant during high school while we were going through this course. And they literally had to be taken out and put through a Planned Parenthood, which they actually told me in my area, they actually did what Asparagus was talking about because they were 16 years old. One had uterine cancer when she got pregnant. So they actually made her scared of having an abortion because they did do those gross videos. But I also know some people that went through Planned Parenthood and they actually got help because they almost went into postpartum depression. And Planned Parenthood actually helped them get the mental care that they needed for that. So it, like Ash said too, it's different areas have different policies and stuff like that. So with that said, overall, we need more education. We need more awareness because they think, oh, we're just killing a life. How do you know that with your mental or your physical capabilities, if you do have that child, and this is speaking for personal experience, if you do have that child, will you be mentally stable to take care of that child because that also goes into, like, if that person's not mentally stable to have a child, they will go into postpartum depression and they will kill that child. Maybe not through neglect, maybe through an accident, that kind of thing. And then they go into manslaughter, which that could have all been prevented if they had the care they needed.
Sid Muffin, it's been a while. I know you were setting up your camera. It seems to be working now. By the way, I've got to say, every time your camera froze, people noted in chat, it was always on very good pauses. You were very, very lucky. Every time your camera stopped, it was very advantageous to you. So it doesn't happen to everyone.
I restarted my phone. I think we're good. I did want to say, I think as far as Planned Parenthood goes, what I would like to see is, with as much effort as they're putting into overturning Roe versus Wade, I'd like to see more access to Planned Parenthood. I just Googled it. The closest Planned Parenthood to me is 2.5 hours away. Now, if I was in a situation, and mind you, this is all country roads, no public bus systems, no nothing. I know if I was in a situation where I needed to get access to Planned Parenthood and I didn't have my husband or my family, I wouldn't know who to call. I don't know who I could call to give me a ride 2.5 hours away to take me there and support me through this. All of my friends are online. This is the people that I choose to hang out with, and I can't call my friend over in California to come to Michigan to take me 2.5 hours away. So what am I supposed to do if I don't have access to that because I don't have a vehicle to drive me 2.5 hours away, or I don't have that support system? I can't go to the church.
Right? That's very valid news. That's so valid. That Planned Parenthood actually has been defunded by a substantial amount, which means that access has decreased by huge margins. And that means it's all about the cycle, right? So all of a sudden, if we're forced to carry pregnancies to full term, right? If Roe v. Wade turns and they say you will now be criminalized if you choose to abort a pregnancy, that access has been diminished to this small. So you're not going to get that help you need. Instead, what's going to happen is you're going to be forced, either you're going to go to jail or you're going to be forced to have a baby that you either A, don't want, B, don't have the means for, and then you're going to continue to live in poverty. It keeps us in the cycle, right? There's no breaking the cycle if we don't have larger resources, louder voices, more help, more education. So you're right, it's 2.5 hours away, but they just defunded that. They took those resources and made them so much smaller. So for me, my closest one is 6 hours away. Not even, yeah.
It's ridiculous. If you want us to have those options, why make them so hard to get to?
Exactly. They want to put more effort into saving these children's lives and saving people's lives, but the same people that are going after Roe versus Wade are the same people that are defunding these programs to prevent situations like Roe versus Wade. So it's a bunch of hypocrisy that they want to look good, but they're also going sleight of hand and also causing more trouble. And that's one of the biggest deals with this country, is that they say one thing, and they go after one thing, but on the other hand, they literally just sleight of hand and do the exact opposite.
There's a saying in Canada that people in the United States really, 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 really care about your children's rights until they're born, and then it doesn't matter.
Truth.
Very true, because going through the foster care system myself, that especially the age where I went, they tend to look at younger children. Once you get past the age of 10, they say, oh, here, we're going to throw you with somebody and we don't care if they really take care of you or not. So foster care system is also a really huge deal as well. And I fortunately had a bad experience. I don't know if anybody else here on the panel has had a good experience. But going from an abusive home, then having to go to abusive foster care, and then having to go back to abusive home, sometimes I don't even want to have a child, which I love children to the point where I want to have a child. But going this way, with this country and with my own experiences, I don't want to put that child in that kind of situation. But I also don't have the means for birth control, or my body's not able to hold the birth control. So
And I just want
it's
to go
like,
ahead and point out that, like, it doesn't matter. It honestly, it doesn't matter if you are mentally stable, not mentally stable, poor, rich, doesn't matter what your life circumstances are. If you don't want to have a baby, that is your choice, and nobody should be making that decision for you, especially not our government, especially not a country that elected a TV reality star as our president, okay? Like, we do not need to be having them in a direct hand in our choices to make our bodily autonomy. And there are certain states across America right now that are having conversations about contraception ban. It is no
Really?
longer about
Really?
pro-life or pro-choice. It is about pro-control and what we can do to make sure. Yeah, I mean, we just went through a pandemic and lost countless lives. Of course, there's going to be talks of contraception ban and how to make sure that women aren't able to take the measures to protect themselves from getting pregnant. Right?
We gotta repopulate. We
Yeah,
gotta bring
and
up the
don't even
people.
talk about the issue with the miscarriages situation. They, in the state of Georgia, if you have any type of medication or anything that could be somewhat lethal to a child, or to that can affect your pregnancy, it doesn't care if you're in the first, second, or third trimester. They can go after you for child manslaughter because you miscarried, because you needed medication to save your life in order to take care of that child, and it had an adverse effect on it. If you have any type of nicotine or anything, like a nicotine patch to help you stop smoking, so you can have a good pregnancy. If you have any type of that kind of situation, you could get tried in certain counties or by the state of Georgia to go to jail for manslaughter because you miscarried. And that's a big issue too, because I see Georgia has it. I don't know if any other states are starting to get those restrictions on miscarriages, but that's because
How's it your
I
fault?
agree with Ginger. They
Sometimes
are
it
going
isn't.
for pro control, and it's ridiculous.
I have a question here I want to bring again from my ignorance, but somebody mentioned it in the States. Pizza and Mojo Zojo mentioned 2 points that I want to bring in. Pizza mentioned that there's a current decline in population in the United States. And I've seen enough of online debates to see that there is a growing group of, let's just say, white supremacists that are very fearful of let's say other demographics taking over. I would say I think it's pretty stupid, but it's a thing. Would you think that it's mostly about racists fearing demographic changes?
Well, I think the reason, I mean, to start off at the beginning, the reason why we're in such a decline is because we're hitting that point where baby boomers are retiring and leaving the job market open for all of these people, that they're now taking those jobs where these people were paid lots of money for, and they're going to hire someone, a millennial or Gen Zer, at less than nothing to pay them for. So yeah, we're not making enough money. And I am a millennial who, I did bring a child into this world, and I'm bringing another one currently. And
Congrats.
we're thinking about moving to Canada because it doesn't make sense to have and raise a child in our country right now. They're not taking care of the younger class because the older generation, and I'm going to say it, fucking boomers, are so worried about themselves. They destroyed our country, and now they're going to continue to spout their hatred towards everything different because they don't want to lose some of their freedoms while they're taking it away from the people they should be giving freedoms to, people they raise. So do we see more racism? No, we don't see more racism. We see the same amount of racism. The problem is you now have people who have way too much time on their fucking hands and social media. So people are more outspoken and people aren't
So they get a
afraid
bigger
of
megaphone.
being racist on Facebook. It's fine. No one's going to find them. They can be as racist as they want.
To be
But
fair, to your
all
point,
of the-
Agathon, I've tried really hard this week. Sorry to cut you. I've tried really hard this week to find some kind of Christian conservative or someone very, very opposed to the talking point, and maybe even some racist people to the point, because I would have liked to have a dissenting opinion on the show, and all of those I talked to, they play big game on social media. They post all these posts on Facebook, like you say, and then I contact them. Hey, would you be interested to go? Oh, no. I'm not gonna go defend my views.
It's because
no.
they're cowards.
Yes, that's what I
Exactly.
feel.
Unintelligent cowards. And they're mad. Oh, I'm not gonna send my kid to college. He's gonna get all liberal. You mean he's gonna get intelligent? He's gonna fucking
get
learn
educated.
something?
He's going to think for himself.
Yeah, it's weird that college, enhances this and gets you out of your parents' basement and all their fucking shit. I'm not trying to take over the everything right now, but that's pretty much what it is. Racism has always been there, and it's gonna be there for so long until white people are the minority. And as a white person, I can't fucking wait.
I know, exactly. And also going with that
Gonna get
issue,
clipped,
I
Agathon.
agree with you, Agathon. The thing is, with these older people retiring and everything like that, the company policies, and this is speaking from a Walmart perspective, they are putting more and more responsibility onto younger people and having them paid. I get $15 an hour, but I literally do the same job as my supervisor who gets paid $25 an hour.
Damn.
I'm literally having to run my department right now because I have no manager, no supervisors in the whole entire fresh area. So because I'm the only one that knows how to do the job, I'm having to run 3 areas by myself because we don't have anybody. And I see a lot of
see you, Ash.
overturning in jobs and everything like that because these younger people, millennials, Gen Z, and even some Gen X, no, not Gen X, the newer generation after Gen Z, I don't know what they're calling them now, are
Babies.
coming to work there. Are coming to work
Babies, yeah.
there. Yeah, they're coming to work there and they're leaving 2 weeks afterwards because they're literally getting overwhelmed because of all the work they're having to do because you have these older people that are leaving the jobs. So they're pushing everything onto lower end associates and younger people because they say, oh, you're young, you can do the job, we'll pay you shit pay and give you everything that these people left for you. That way we don't have to do anything.
Ash really wanted to jump in.
Yes, I did. So, on the topic of pay and that, I, at the age of 19, was given, I applied, I was at a company already there for over a year, and applied to become a supervisor to get that experience, even though I was in school for massage at the time, to get experience in more of a being my own boss. And I was making $13 an hour there, which is very high for Wisconsin. I was very fortunate on that aspect. But for the supervisor position, they were only offering me 50 cents raise to do a supervisor's work. Yeah, only 50 cents. Oh, and they only gave me 50 cents for being there a year. That was my raise. So I got $1 more. Which, I could go into a whole big ordeal about that. But going back to back more, since we've kind of geared onto the topic of income, I kind of want to switch more to a personal experience of why abortion really hits home for me, because I feel, as much as I love the talk of facts, and I think facts are super important when we're talking about these things, our life, this is our life, and our life is involved, and hearing personal experiences, I think, at least really helped me understand where that person's coming from. And as someone who was raised by a mother who, my older sister, the firstborn, was the child that was born when my mom was 16. 16 and pregnant. She was a teen mom, and I love my mom to death, and I wish she were to tell me more of her experience being a teen mom, especially being a teen mom in Texas, who also was a teen mom who went to a Catholic church, Catholic church and school. All I can remember is one time I was being a teenager and I was, complaining about my life, and all she does is get angry, and she's like, you don't even know what I went through to have you guys. Being in a Catholic school, my father being a very Catholic man, and being 16 and pregnant, and that's all she said. But just that sentence alone really was like, oh shoot. I try not to swear, but it was really like, oh
Oh,
shoot,
you can. Agathon doesn't give a crap, so yeah, go ahead.
okay. I was like, oh shit,
No. You can swear.
Let it
Just
out.
keep
Let it
it
out.
Twitch. Just keep it Twitch friendly. This is not a children's show, so go ahead.
I immediately knew I'd fucked up in what I was saying, because I was right. She was right. I didn't know. I didn't know what she went through. And actually a lot of my teen years was making sure I didn't become 16 and pregnant. There's a whole show that my family makes fun of these girls who are 16 and pregnant, not in a make fun of, but they're like, how do we let this happen? How do we put these kids in these positions? Because they're kids having kids. And I'm in my mid-20s, or, getting there, and I still don't think I'm ready to have kids. So the fact that we don't have more knowledge on birth control despite religion, the fact that we don't have more access, education, everything we need to really give those choices to the to the teens that are sexually active. Because let's be honest, we all were, they're all going to be. That's peak hormone season.
Yep.
And to
But
set
if
them
you
up.
say abstinent, if you say stay abstinent, like they teach us in sex ed, just don't have sex.
Wait, isn't it worse?
Just don't have sex
Yeah.
and you won't get pregnant.
Yeah, but you also gotta think the culture nowadays. Literally, almost everything, and I love
Sex sells.
Yeah, sex dolls or sex toys. I was fortunate that I had a friend whose mother, I told them, as like, I don't want to have sex with somebody, but I also want to. And she's like, don't worry, I got you. And she actually helped me get sex toys. And it's like, and that helped me. I was staying abstinent and I got rid of my hormones. And it's like, oh, they're too young, they have to do it like that. If that stuff, kind of the stuff, was more readily available during that age, I can see that that's another way of birth control, because they're not having to go out there and do it to mess with these hormones. They're actually having to take care of them themselves.
Agathon, want to jump in? Responding to
Yeah.
Elish?
Going kind of off of what you said. First off, I practiced abstinence in high school, and I never became a teen dad, but it wasn't by choice. I was really fat and really unattractive. Number two.
Damn, you changed a lot, buddy.
Oh, you're so sweet. Number two.
Do y'all need a room or something?
Oh, we already have a room. Agathon and I.
And I'll just start reading.
Yeah, we have our own room. We'll be fine later.
Oh, here, I'll just start making some fanfic of it then. Just keep going.
Ooh, can you? That would be great.
I mean, I like writing. I could.
Oh my god, yes. Asparagus and Agathon. The adventures.
The steamy hot fling
Behind the door.
Asparagathon, as
I'm
Pizza
sorry,
says in chat.
Keep going.
Going off of the medical blah 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 stuff again, like, do you guys know at what age children start masturbating at?
Oh,
Adele?
I was actually
God.
going to say something about that. I didn't know what masturbation as a female for female was until high school, and I hadn't realized that I'd been doing it since elementary school. And I felt a whole world of embarrassment because I'm going to be honest, I'm putting myself on the internet right now, and I'm going to be completely honest. I was doing that shit in public and didn't know.
So do
You
do
know what,
Like,
Ash?
it is-
You know what, Ash? I had the same idea. And the thing is, my mother, she knew what I was doing. And coming from a very conservative family, she actually used to punish me.
Oh, a lot of
When she-
it's a common practice.
And she would actually punish me. And my friend's mother, who gave me that thing, when she found out that I had that and I was actually doing that, oh my god, I had candy stripe legs. It was so bad.
I knew something was bad about it. Like I hid it. I was doing it secretively.
See that?
And I knew it was bad, but I didn't know what it was.
It's not. That's the thing.
Well,
That's
and
so
that's-
fucked up. Is it's not bad.
Well,
And it's-
well,
and it's-
Agathon,
Can I
I
just
will. Yep, go for
okay?
it.
The biggest thing is it's like 3 years old. 3-year-olds
Really?
is when they start finding their genitalia and start playing with it and touching it and having different sensations because they're exploring who they are. And if you take that 3-year-old and you swat their hand and say, "You don't do that," that's how so many issues come about.
My mom
Sex
called
is
my
Sex is such a natural thing for all animals on this planet, and to punish them for doing something that feels natural, you don't punish. You say, "We don't do this in public. This is something you do in private." It's retraining, and that's what you have to do. Like, what
Not
guy
pu-
doesn't go home, sit on their couch, hand down their pants immediately? That's what
not even
babies do.
sexually either. Let's be
No,
honest.
it's
It's,
just-
it's
yeah,
not
it's
all. It's not even sexual.
It's just comfortable.
Right?
I do just want to tap in here and say I fully agree
My hands
that
are here, by
we
the way.
should have more sex positive conversations, right? But I will say that if you look at movies and TV shows and what is being streamlined to us in a media sense, it is always men can do that, boys can do that, teenager boys can do that. Women, when do you hear them talk about women doing it? When do you hear of them talking about women, girls coming home from school and masturbating or masturbating in the shower? You don't hear those things. You hear that about men, not women. And I know that's so far off topic, but I just wanted to point that out.
No, it's not.
Because
It's off topic for Roe v. Wade for sure.
It's about I completely disagree that it's off women's topics because, like I said before,
Exactly.
our bodies are being policed by media, by the people around us, and that has everything to do with abortion.
And the
Because
thing
first
is,
of all, sorry, I was just gonna say, biggest thing is women have hormones too. If we're not
Exactly.
taught how to deal with it, sex seems like, oh, I have this itch that I need to scratch. I don't know how to scratch it other than sex, because that's the thing that's gonna scratch it. If we're not
And-
taught the other way, there's gonna be no like alternative
And the
besides
thing is,
abstinence.
not being and the thing is, they say, oh, women want control of their bodies and stuff like that. Oh, you're being a feminist. No, we're actually waking up and actually thinking about our pleasure, our heart, our soul, because this has been an issue since basically the dawn of time, that women have not been able to be comfortable in their own skin or take care of themselves. We always had to take care of the man. I mean, half the time, no offense to Agathon and Asparagus, half the time men fuck women just to ejaculate and leave the girl hanging, and they don't care. They really don't care, and it's a
Go
very
ahead, Liz.
big, huge problem.
Go ahead, Liz.
I feel so offended.
So, but here's the thing. I know. Me and Asparagus have talked about this before. There are women out there who have decided at the age of their young 20s that they don't want kids, and they'll go to a doctor and they'll say, "I don't want kids. Sterilize me." And the doctor will say, "Well," they'll say, "Well, what does your husband think?" Oh,
I don't
well,
have one.
you know, you're a little young. Let's wait until you get older to decide you don't want to have kids. What if your husband wants kids someday? And it's always, what if this, what if that? And they say no, you can't have it. You cannot go through that as a woman having the choice to not want to have kids. But a man can walk into that same office and say, vasectomy, please. All right, next week's your surgery. See you then. Bring a bag of peas, you know?
Doesn't
And
ask
it's like,
what if your
Like
wife wants a
beforehand.
kid before.
yeah, they'll never ask, well, what does your wife think? It's like, but you walk in and the doctor will be like, well, what does your husband think? What does your boyfriend think? What if you get with a man someday that you decide you want to have kids with? It's always what ifs, and we don't get that choice. If I wanted to walk in and say I want a tattoo, they're gonna give me a tattoo. What if I have a husband someday that doesn't like me having tattoos?
You're gonna have to go get it surgically removed. The
Well,
thing
that
is,
just sucks for
that's
him.
how they see it. That's how they see it. And the thing is, they say, oh, if you get sterilized or you have a hysterectomy, you might never have kids. Do they not realize that egg donors, in vitro, and adoption or fostering is still a thing? So the thing is, even if you sterilize yourself and you decide to have a kid later on down the road, you can still have one. There's other options. There's millions and hundreds of kids on the streets or in foster care or getting into gangs because they don't have a family.
Mm-hmm.
They're making all these bad decisions and they don't have nobody and they feel alone in the world just because the doctor decides, oh, we're not going to sterilize this person and later on down the road they're going to change their mind. The thing is, you don't know how the human mind works. Yeah, I'm probably going to adopt or foster one of these days because I can't have kids. So you're going to take my choice away from me just because I physically probably could not have kids? Yeah, no, that ain't happening.
When I was 16 years old, I had a 35-pound ovarian cyst and I lost one of my ovaries. And it
I'm
was such a
sorry, Ruth.
it happens. I'm just glad I'm here today. But I know when I went in for the surgery, they found it, and I was in there within 3 weeks. It was like spring break. No, you're getting surgery. And when the doctor went in there, they did everything they could to save all of my organs, and they were very scared that I was going to lose everything. And his biggest concern was, well, you're only 16. You don't know what you want in life. If you lose your uterus and both your ovaries, what's going to happen? It wasn't we're going to do what we can to make you better. They were like talking about cutting little bits and pieces. And I went in for my pre-blood work, and they're like, well, they're talking about taking out possibly a kidney, possibly your appendix, possibly this, possibly that, because they don't know what's actually going on in there. But they never mentioned that, you might lose this, you might lose that, as far as your reproductive organs go. And he came and apologized to me at 16 years old that I lost an ovary, and he's like, it's going to make it hard for you to have kids, I'm so sorry. And it was never, do you plan on having kids someday? It was always, you're 16, obviously you're going to have a kid someday, I'm sorry that I did this. It doesn't matter that you pulled a tumor out of my body. It was, I'm sorry I couldn't save it.
And to that, I would just say, can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make any decisions about a man's bodily autonomy? Are there any laws that are put in place in America that says anything about a man's bodily autonomy?
It's totally not comparable, but I think I forgot the name of the operation, but there was this operation where they were cutting a little boy's skin over the penis when
Oh,
they're
circumcision.
Circumcision, yeah.
That's a huge topic.
I guess it's totally not comparable, but you just ask for something that was impacting men's.
But does the government control that?
Not anymore. I think it used to.
No,
In
it's,
Canada?
Am I
it
wrong?
is- in the U.S., it is completely up to the parents.
Okay.
Exactly.
So the big debate are the parents wrong for pushing this on their child? But in the end, if you wait to be an adult, getting a circumcision is very dangerous and very difficult. And two, so many health issues can come from that flap of skin. You could go in for a procedure, say you're not able to, you have to get a Foley catheter placed, and in order to do that, they have to pull back that skin around the head of the penis. If they don't put that skin back, they could actually do a lot of damage to the penis. So doing it is good for the person, but again, it's down to the parents. It's not the government telling you what you should or shouldn't do with your body. And no, men can do whatever the fuck they want. They also can get super cheap boner pills.
But don't
Yeah,
forget,
you can literally
That
go
is
to
covered
a
by
gas
medical
station and
insurance.
grab them.
Yep.
but don't forget that when your wife goes in and has a child, you can make a joke about getting a husband stitch, and nobody bats an eye.
Mm-hmm.
I will say
Actually, did
things
you know-
things have changed a little bit to that. As majority of the doctors now that perform births in the room are females. It's not a joke that's widely acceptable, but yes, it was a thing, and these doctors were doing it to these women, and
Without women consent.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I actually didn't know what the husband stitch was actually until very, very like a week ago or like
Never heard
in
about
the
it
very
until now.
soon future. So I would say let's bring that up right now. Like
What is
just
that?
just give a little what is that for those who don't know? Because even I didn't know for
Exactly.
Please.
majority of the time.
husband,
That is
Oh,
Twitch
from
friendly,
the-
right? Just
Yeah.
want to be super scared here.
Uh,
Yes.
Yeah, it
you
should be.
can put it in Twitch friendly terms. We let the medical professional do it.
From the medical
Oh, look at him
standpoint,
blushing.
the majority of births that happen cause a tear in the perineum for the female. The vagina itself usually can stretch to a certain point, but once you hit that breaking point, especially with epidurals, it can cause a little bit more issues as sometimes things can go a little bit faster. You're actually going to tear down towards the anus through the perineum. So for the majority of births, they have to stitch back up into that point. So what the husband stitch is they put an extra stitch in there past where the point actually was, causing so it's tighter for the man.
Oh.
It feels better
During
for the man.
intercourse after the birth.
Mhm.
But this causes immense pain for the female.
I'm sure.
This is basically like you're taking a hole that should be this big and you're making it this big, and there's not much you can do about it because it can only give so much because that skin with the stitching eventually heals into place.
Is it a further issue if you are going to give birth to more children afterward? Does it become even more difficult to give birth to another children after it's been done?
Yeah, it can. I mean, it's almost you're gonna tear, like it's gonna
You're
tear.
gonna retear it and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be painful.
Mm-hmm.
And then we only get 6 weeks of maternity leave before we have to go back and sit in that office or go and work at that restaurant after
Yeah,
having that
that's
child.
And likely not coming home to anybody help you take care of it.
No,
I mean,
because
No.
You all will come.
Asshole who asked for a husband stitch? Yeah, you ain't changing diapers. You're a piece of shit.
Oh,
I just want to
not
say,
just
I just had
changing
to
diapers,
leave.
They're not there.
I just had to leave for a code brown. So
Oof. Well, the thing is, also, these same people with the Roe versus Wade, like I said, it's the older generation. So it's literally, oh, yeah, no, they're going to try and get rid of this because they want women to basically, in my opinion, I think they're also trying to control women again. And because they're saying, oh, they have more freedom and everything. And that's actually, it's more plausible because they're actually pulling up scriptures and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, don't do this. You forget, this is a changing world.
I want to say, if your first argument to me is quoting a fucking book, unless it's the good book, Lord of the Rings, I don't want to fucking hear it.
Oh my
Question.
God.
I have a question way off topic. Agathon, is your name a play on Aragon or Aragon? I can't. Aragorn. Aragorn.
It is not. It's actually
Or Lord of the Rings.
It's actually from Battlestar Galactica.
Okay. Don't know that too much about it, but I was like, I was looking at the history of Lord of the Rings the other day, and Agathon actually is one of Aragorn's ancestors. So
Agathorn. Agathorn.
Oh.
So,
Ooh.
um, but
Let's talk about this. Not my favorite subject.
there was can I jump in with another topic?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, there was a video that surfaced on
Before
my
you go, can I just stop you for a second? I'll let you go first. We've been at it for an hour and a half, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I sense that we still have a lot to go. Are you guys up for continuing? Because
I'm
usually I'm super up for. Agathon, are you cool too? Do you have things? Do you have a deadline? Because I would go for hours. I just want sure that everyone don't feel pressure to stay if they have things to do.
I might need a slight break because I think my kid is climbing up and jumping off of his dresser.
That
Take
sounds
all
like
the-
a code brown to me. You might need to go handle that.
that sounds like the start of a code red.
I was about to say
Or
that.
broken bone.
Then, if we are to go for a little while, are you guys in need of a 5-minute break for the entire show, or you want to go on? Because if you
I
want
just need to
a
make sh-
bathroom break, going to get some water or a
I just
drink
need
of
to
your
order
choice.
dinner. So
Yeah.
I need some more water too.
Yeah, we
I
might
need some
want to
more
take a
coffee.
It
break.
could be great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm up to do that for a long time. I have nothing tomorrow, and we're having a good talk. I am enjoying the shit out of this, and apparently the chat does. We keep getting compliments about our panelists tonight, which is awesome. So
what have they said about me?
ooh, woo.
they said you were incredibly beautiful, man.
Chat
They said you were
Chat
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Also,
so
I didn't
Well, you do have a
realize
nice
I'm the
smile,
youngest person
so-
here too.
Arguably not.
23.
Same.
Ditto. Okay, we're the same age.
Okay.
Okay, so there was a video that surfaced on my page. For TikTok. I get a lot of my news from TikTok, not my most reliable source. But they were talking to one of the people who were fighting to overturn Roe v. Wade, and they were talking about what types of contraceptives would be allowed and which contraceptives would not be allowed. And it was brought up that at what point can a contraceptive intervene, and that comes with Plan B and IUDs. An IUD prevents implantation of the embryo, from what I understand, and I might be wrong. Somebody please correct me. But they are trying to say that IUDs will now be banned under this because you are preventing the implantation of that embryo, but that embryo already exists and can create a child. And that, why are you want us to not have children and not have these abortions and stuff like that, but how are you going to take a contraceptive that works well for many women and make it so you can't use them?
Control.
Two things that I also want to mention. There's two things that the IUD is. Yes, it does stop implantation, but there's also still hormonal IUDs that stop the hormonal process, which means I have an IUD personally. I no longer get a period, which basically means, from my understanding is I'm not ovulating, and an egg isn't going through my fallopian tubes into my uterus. The uterine wall is not shredding, and I am not having a physical period. So IUDs can and both do both. Like, there are some that don't. I think the copper IUD is just the implantation based. If someone can correct me if I'm wrong on there. The IUDs that are hormonal do technically both. So I just want to add that point.
There is a lot of types of contraceptives as well, some of which can do more harm than good for a lot of people. The side effects that come along with a lot of contraceptives are horrible for women. And contraceptives are so important for women because some people have horrible menstruation times, and using contraceptives help lessen that. And I know I'm mansplaining now fucking periods to a bunch
Again?
of women. But I'm doing it as the medical person right now, that to put a ban on contraceptives is all it is. It's a war on women at this point, because yes, they stop pregnancy, but that's not the only reason they exist.
I would also, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was also going to say, since we're on the topic of like healthcare in general not being enough education, I want to plug a channel if it's okay with you, Asparagus. She's a board certified OBGYN, which if you don't know what an OBGYN is, it's do you sir, healthcare. I don't know the actual like thing of the acronym, but it's basically a women's health doctor, the doctor who does a lot of the birthings and
Are you gonna
Obstetric
explain that to us again, Agaton, please?
Yeah.
yes.
Obstetric gynecologist.
Which
OBGYN, which
gynecology is.
Yeah, basically is doctor of female anatomy and female reproductive systems.
And her name is Mama Dr. Jones on YouTube. Like I said, I don't know if any of you have heard of her. I absolutely love her. She's a board certified OBGYN who her whole YouTube channel is about women's health and about everything we're talking about health-wise here today that involves the uterus, involves actually this Roe v. Wade topic. I think she does a lot of videos about, you know, educating on abortions and all of it. It's all found on her channel, and I mean, she's just a great source of. She talks about everything female, things that like I was like, oh my god, my body does that. Like things that I didn't realize until she told me as an adult, and I absolutely love her work. She's a doctor who is here giving her education for free on YouTube and stand
That's
up
awesome,
woman.
Ash.
So
Thanks for sharing. We'll have to check it out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ash, that is a great person because I actually follow her on YouTube as well.
I love
So
her.
that was actually awesome that you actually recommended her because she does go into it and she explains it in a way where it's easy to understand for people that are not educationally inclined.
I've gone to college, and there are some things where I'm like, can you simplify that in terms that I understand? I love her. Like, I absolutely adore her as a person and as someone who I went into massage because I wanted to help people. She probably went into her field because she wanted to help people. Like, she does a stand-up job to give actual information. She's not biased, at least from my standpoint. She doesn't put in her she'll state an opinion maybe at a point, but she's not giving you these skewed facts as opinions or opinions as fact.
Well, we'll
I
try
mixed that up. You know what I mean?
try to get her in next time we have a topic on the a debate on a topic like that.
I wouldn't even know how to do that. It'd be okay. Sorry, I'm like fangirling with the thought of that because she is just.
I mean, there's only one way to do it. You send them a message, and no matter the size or what they are, they might reply to you.
And
I
send a
don't
link
send
to
messages
this
to
video.
people.
Send a link to this video on YouTube with the
Yeah.
timestamp of you fangirling.
And we just all tweeted at her. It's fantastic.
Oh, I see. I'm not active. I'm not big on social media because I have just considered it as bad for my mental health.
We'll do it for you. We'll do it for you.
Wait, what's
It's bad for
Twitter?
everyone's mental health.
Asparagus taught me to tweet. That's who taught me social media is Asparagus.
Twitter still exists.
Asparagus, what's wrong with you?
I do not have a
Didn't Elon
Yeah.
Musk just buy
Yes,
Twitter?
Yeah.
I taught you
No,
to
he
give more
didn't.
money to Elon Musk. Yes, I feel bad now.
He's rethinking the deal.
Really?
I
I
mean,
just read an article about it. He's like backtracking on it.
I would like to talk about what Pizza put in the chat. I know we're kind of going off topic. I didn't know that
yeah.
vaginas can get depressed.
Me neither.
Is that a thing?
Well, she gave an explication.
Not
I know
in
there's-
the same way that a human,
A
like
human
as you
with
can get
emotions?
depressed because a vagina does not have emotions. But what I think she's referring to is a vagina, like most things can get
Like a-
stressed, cannot function properly. Yeah, I don't really know where she's
Oh,
going
I
with the press.
I was going with the way where their muscles don't work and everything like that. That goes with the issue with loose bladder or something like that. That's what I was going for in my head.
I was
Where
thinking
their
a low
muscles
libido.
atrophy or something.
Yeah, low libido is what I was going
There's,
at.
there's a lot of things that can cause low libidos, like depression, just in
Stress,
person.
anxiety.
I definitely have a
Probably
question
those.
for the panel, though.
Looking at pictures of Donald Trump. I mean,
Being my
No, no, no,
right
no, no.
being taken
Who
away.
would go
for
with
something
that?
that doesn't-
Oompa Loompa.
Frickle,
I would
you had a
love to hear the
question for the
question.
panel.
Yeah. So this is mainly for the men of the panel. Asparagus and
Well, no,
Agathon.
we established at the start there's only one man. Agathon said it. He was the only man on the panel, so I feel free and I feel out of this
You know,
question.
who am I
I'm
to
safe.
assume your pronouns? You know, actually, that's very rude of me. So anybody who identifies as he or him can answer this question. I wouldn't want to assume anybody's pronouns. But this question is simply based on the fact that I have not been privileged to have a lot of men in my life who understand and respect and fight for women's rights like I do. And so I'm just curious. I know the both of you are very active for women's rights, and Agathon, you've definitely talked on that a lot tonight. I would like to know how and why. Was it healthcare for you, Agathon? Asparagus? How did you guys come into realizing that there is a misguided ulterior motive for women's rights and how and being a part of fighting against that?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
yeah,
Sure.
I'll go first.
Thank you.
Fantastic question. I think the thing that hurts the most is it's a question you have to ask.
Yeah.
You know, why does someone fight for someone else? Like,
Yeah.
fuck, I know white privilege. I know male privilege. Like, I fucking realize it. And yes, females do have privileges too that usually are skewed towards their physicality, which I think is bullshit. But why do I want to fight? I have a wife. I mean, I might have a daughter. I have the most amazing people in my life have been women. My best friends are women. I connect with women more. I've had very abusive males in my life. And the fact of the matter is I identify as male, but I think I have a lot of female qualities in that. As a society looks at, I'm very emotional, and that's everyone puts that as a female quality. I'm sensitive. I'm very empathetic, and the fact of the matter is, sorry, regardless of all that, I have women in my life, women that do not get the same privileges that I get, and I'm fucking nobody. Like, I saw that someone in the comments talked about male birth control. Yeah, let's bring this shit up. The only issue with male birth control is they don't know long-term side effects. Let's fucking find out, because there's a shit ton of side effects about female birth control. So to answer your question, like, just, I love my wife. Like, she's the most amazing person in my life, and she's pregnant with my second child now. And my wife also has Crohn's disease. There could be complications during a pregnancy. And what this is taking away is what if there's a complication and it comes down to it where it's like, if this baby, this fetus isn't aborted, I'm going to lose my wife. I'm going to lose my wife. I'm going to lose my child. Both of them all in one fell swoop. And that shouldn't be how it is. And, you know, I don't know. I hate that you had to ask that question. I'm sorry that you don't have supportive men and that you haven't had that. I hope you're finding it now.
Yeah, and I do have a lovely fiance who obviously, you know, supports me and my rights as a woman. But I was just very curious, how did you come into that? Because I've been the one to educate my fiance, so I was very curious as to was it something you grew up with? Did you grow up progressive, or was it something you learned through healthcare, or was it something you learned through just world events? That's where the question is from.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I come from a very small-minded, tiny little town in Wisconsin. It, I didn't learn it from school. My mom, I'm not on great terms, but she's always been supportive of any decisions I make, and I think college is what really like had me start opening my eyes to it. And I met my wife at 18, and we started dating, and we're gonna be celebrating our 10th anniversary soon. And it's
Damn.
Thank you. And it is something I learned by just having someone I'm so connected to and opening my eyes to what's going on in the world and going, all right, that's fucked up. And the same thing for what's going on in the African American communities. I can look at that with open eyes and go, that's not right. That's fucked up. Look at the history of everything. Like the fact that white males have been given all of these privileges, and now that other groups are stepping up and taking power, I fucking love it. I love it, and I'm going to support it as long as I can. I'm a fucking uber feminist.
Well, thank you for being an ally and a feminist. It means a lot.
Ash, you want to jump in?
Really, really quick sidebar. Because my partner, he gets really heated really quickly because he decided not to go to college. And I want to make those people who decide that kind of feel a little bit more validated in their choice, because validation is a very big thing in this country, whether you want your XYZ here validated by others. It's kind of just how the world works. It's not about education. It's not all about education. It's whether you decide to educate yourself further or not from to a topic. Agathon was shown through college, was enlightened, and then he decided to take that a step further into figuring those things out. Whether you go to college or not doesn't mean that you are uneducated. It just means that if you aren't pushing yourself to strive for further education outside of the realm of college is where I would argue that kind of.
Oh, I completely agree. I've not done college, but I'm educated.
Well, and I think, and all I wanted to say, all I meant by bringing it up is to give a definition to that, because when people hear uneducated, what I immediately think of is college, because that's something that was, again, heavily like, you're not going to go anywhere in life if you don't go to college. Breathing down someone's neck. I'm really bad with idea.
You're doing fine. You're doing great.
Doing great.
Thank you.
You're doing amazing, Ash.
I just don't know the word for it. If you can't tell, I have ADHD and I'm dyslexic, so words aren't my strong suit.
The thing is, as you're saying that, Ash, a saying actually my nana used to tell me all the time, even though I was only 5 years old when she used to tell me. She said to me when I was growing up, if you have a will to learn, you have a will to change. And that's always stuck with me because as I've gotten older, with that saying, if you're willing to learn, you're willing to learn the problems of the world. And that leads to change. Changing yourself, changing your environments, that kind of thing. And it doesn't mean that, you have to go to college or you didn't finish high school or anything like that. Even though you don't finish high school or don't go to college or anything like that, does not mean that you're not learning. Every day of your life, you're learning something new, from college to work to basically the world around you. Every day is a learning experience because you're living another day in this world. So you are slowly gathering experience, and that
Not
is
everyone
a form
does.
of learning.
See, well, I'm gonna come back of what you just. By the way, somehow the background noise you had came back. It was not there before. I think it's your AC.
It's my
Probably
AC.
30
I got
probably
freaking
39
hot.
degrees. I know. I get the feeling too. I'm gonna use what you say to answer quickly Freckles' question, because I think it was also addressed to me. I came from a family of a big family. I have 3 sisters, and I have a mom that was always at home, and my dad was classic, always working. So I grew up surrounded by girls, women, all my life. I took a different path, and my family is very progressive, very left-leaning, not religious, vegan, very, very open. Well, it depends about open, but that's another question. And I took the other way. When I hit 2025, I started falling into what is known as the alt-right pipeline. I don't know if you saw videos about that. Just starting to watch a video on YouTube of a certain YouTuber that would just bring something that out of itself kind of makes sense, but if you put in broader context, you realize after that that's just racism or just hatred, and just watch more and more and more and more. And then I started watching some of these panel shows, like the one I'm hosting right now. I freaking love these shows. This is what I consume as most of my content. And I've started to see these guys that I thought I liked being destroyed and humiliated and looking like assholes on these shows. And then I started to realize, that's not me. That's not how I grew up. That's not what I like. Maybe I'm just going through some of rebellious phase and I'm trying to be cool, but it's just being an asshole. So at some point I just kind of changed, and I kind of veered towards watching the political YouTubers that were destroying these guys that I used to like. I could shout out right now. I don't know if I can. No, he's banned from Twitch, so I can't say his name. Vosh. I don't know if any of you know Vosh. I freaking love Vosh. He's a very, very left-leaning socialist YouTuber in some way. And these kinds of content kind of bring me back on the right side, and I just rediscovered what I grew up with to begin with, because I think there's a point of kind of everyone's life when you just kind of rebel against what you've learned, what you thought was the good thing to do. And I just hit that point later in my life, and it was a bit too late. It was not too late, but it was a bit later than everybody else. And now I just realize all the bad things that could have happened if I continued on the way I was. And I'm just trying to make up for it somehow. And just realizing that I was on a bad way, and realizing in what company I was with. And I said, no, I don't want to be associated with these guys. Are you crazy?
Wow.
Well, good. I'm
That's
glad.
awesome.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be friends.
See?
I have something really interesting to add to that. So I think me and Hellish are probably like the 2 youngest people here, and even with how much of an age, not much of an age, but with our different ages, we all go through kind of, well, we've already said different everything, different schooling, life experiences, all that stuff. For me, not only was my mom 16 and pregnant with her first child, my older sister, I was the second born. My mom and my dad are divorced. Actually, I only have half sisters. I don't have a full-blooded sibling, meaning my mom has had her kids with different men. And I was also a military brat. So some of my schooling, I remember being in actually Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I remember before coming to Wisconsin, and I'm in one of the big cities in Wisconsin. So I have more, I guess, if you look at it, more of a left-leaning or more. The educational system is still different than some places in Wisconsin. But I remember in Wyoming being around a lot of Native Americans, but still early 2000s calling them Indians. And now every single time someone uses the word Indian to refer to Native Americans, it actually upsets me, because I realize that that's what I was being taught when I was young, and it really got me firing up, because I was like, no, that's wrong. That's not who they are. They're Native Americans. They're not Indians. And learning differently in Wisconsin really was like, I was like, oh man, I hope some of the things that I said as a kid didn't come off as like racist, because I didn't know, because I was a kid and I was just going based off of like what I was the information that I was learning from. and we're constantly learning and evolving, and just because someone, is fed this information and would be considered racist doesn't mean that they're always going to be racist.
True.
It doesn't mean that they can't change. I think change is like one of those things where a lot of people believe, this person can't change. They're gonna be like that forever, but it's completely untrue. Like,
It's all about how you react to being proved wrong. Whatever you think, you could always be wrong because you could have been taught a certain way, which is something that's totally not in your control. It's not your fault. If you've grown up in a little town where everyone, let's say, is super religious, and this is the way to go, you don't know anything else. Everyone around you is this way. This is what life is for you. So I cannot blame you for being that way because that's life for you. However, when you come in contact with something different, that's where it's important. I think this is where you see what people are. If you refuse it and you just say fuck it and you get blind to it and you don't pay attention to it, then I would agree you could, let's say, be called racist. Yeah, that's a good point. It's how about you react to being proved wrong. I would not fault someone for being racist if they grew up in an environment where everyone is. But when they've been explained to them that it's not the way to go, if they choose at this point, when you've been taught, at this point it becomes a choice. And at the moment it becomes a choice and you make the choice, then is where I can start to judge you.
Completely agree. And it like, to circle back to the topic of abortion, just because you believe one way or the other doesn't mean it's gonna stay the same.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it has to stay the same.
See,
and I'm saying that for either side. If you switch, I mean, of course I have my ideologies and my opinions, but I have no control over anybody else's. But that's why I also love doing debates, because like I said, my mom's side is heavily religious, heavily conservative, and one of my favorite moments of being around my family is right before the 2016 elections, and my mom's side, my grandfather, uncles, and my stepdad's side, which was born in one of the main cities in Wisconsin, more liberal, had debates, and I got to participate, and I loved it because it wasn't screaming matches. It was discussion. It was bringing up points. It was life experiences, and those types of talks are the things that I really believe we need more in this world, because they're hard.
What I've noticed
how to do them.
And what I've noticed for watching a lot of this content in the last 5-10 years is that whoever you're going to bring on the panel, whatever opinion they have at the beginning of the show, they are not going to change their mind. You are not trying to change panelists' minds. You're talking to the audience. If I come as a super right-winger on a panel full of left-winger, nobody's going to take my side by the end, and there's no way I'm going to take their side by the end, because they're kind of giving a show, they're performing. The idea is to try to influence, or I hate the word educate because it sounds super insulting, so I try not to do it, but to explain to the audience your side and try to get them to believe or to agree with you. But yeah, I agree with you. Debate is that's why I have the show. I love this. This is the content I watch.
That's why I come on, even though I don't stream, I don't go on social media, I don't post things. I stick to like the few people I meet off of Project Winter, and but I will happily put myself into the blades of the internet to debate.
And debates are actually really well too, because I've noticed as over the years, and I hate to say this because I'm one of them, millennials and Gen Zs have gotten to the point where, we'll just go with popularity. It's very, it's like influencer, very, very influencer heavy, and very major opinion heavy. They only go with what they think, what looks cool, or try to fit in. Nobody thinks for themselves anymore. This is why debates are so well as well.
you're not gonna get an opinion from yourself anyway. You need to be exposed to it in order to be able to think about it. The people that bring new
Exactly.
ideas are extremely rare, and usually they are the thought leaders. But regardless of what side of any issue you are, you will be taught an opinion by someone else, and you will never think about it on your own. Agathon, you want to jump in?
I'm gonna debate you.
I will also debate you.
I will say, as a millennial, I'm proud to be a millennial, and
Yeah,
as much shit as I'm willing to give Gen Zers, especially for the Tide Pod fiasco, holy shit, is there a lot of them doing a lot of stuff. Like, millennials are sick of the shit. Gen Zers are sick of the shit, and they're pushing.
They're doing more than what we ever did.
Just jumping, Ash. Feel free to jump in anytime. Wait,
I was just gonna say, just really, really, really quick. Why do we put ourselves into these boxes of?
Thank you.
Oh, I'm here.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm there. Oh, I'm like, okay. Personally, like I'm gonna be upfront. I am pro LGBTQ+. This is nothing, like, this isn't against them. I completely understand that you want to be validated in who you are, and it might not be what other people think you are. And I'm not saying you shouldn't put yourself into boxes, but I'm just saying that why are we as a group collectively putting all of us into this big group of Gen Z boomers? I think it creates a lot of problems of communication of, oh, but that's not me. I am on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, and I don't like either of them. Like, I don't want to be associated because the age ranges are so big, first of all, with generation gaps. Like, and as I said multiple times, everyone goes through life differently. Everyone has different everything. So why are we putting ourselves into these boxes? I feel like it's very limiting. And it's holding us to certain standards.
Agathon, you've been directly called out. You want to respond to that?
Have I? Oh, I completely agree with her. It's just, unfortunately, that's what's being done, is we're all being put in these little boxes. And as someone who also supports the LGBT community, I'm going to bring this forward to talk about something. Whether you're a millennial, whether you're a boomer, whether you're a Gen Z, whether you're an LGBT, there's shitty people everywhere.
Yep.
There is some people that I fucking hate that are LGBT people who are like pushing forward our agenda, and I'm like, I don't really fucking agree with this. And there's some awesome people who are boomers, and so no, I don't hate any specific individual. I hate the majority of people, because I think majority of people, as they get collectively together, just get so selfish,
Close-minded as well.
I think.
Yeah.
I think when you have an influencer, if you are letting an influencer kind of tell you how to feel, yeah, you're not one of the people that I'm going to appreciate. If you are sitting in a
disagree.
church pew,
I disagree, Agathon.
Well, okay, let me finish.
Without
let me
influencer,
finish my talk.
I would not be the guy you enjoy. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, are you an influencer?
No,
Apparently.
No, I'm not. I mean, I was shaped in the right way by watching what I consider the right people. I mean, as I said before, there's no thought that comes from nowhere. You need to be exposed to some thoughts before you adopt them as your own.
Well, I'm just stating, if you're just following one person, their one opinion, that's very close-minded of you. But if you're listening to someone tell their story and offer some explanations off of that, that's different. You're learning from someone, but that doesn't mean you're learning solely from that person.
But you should also make sure you're getting content from other opinions and hearing those sides.
Yes.
It's so important because, sorry.
That's why I like these panels. That's why I like these panels so much.
Explaining what I just said to me.
And also going with Agathon as well, with the whole, they're shitty people. There are good influencers.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are good influencers. So we're not saying all influencers are bad. Like, there is this influencer group that is like trending on Facebook right now, which really pisses me off. And they're super speeders. They get in McLarens, they get in Lamborghinis, and they go hundreds of miles over the 100, 120 miles over the speed, a 60 or a 40 speed limit, and they think it's a joke. Those are the type of influencers that I'm talking about. But I'm also talking about our authority figures, parents, and everything like that, depending on how you grew up. I grew up in a very conservative family, very racist family, very close minded family. And I literally had the Bible shoved down my throat, racism shoved down my throat, and my sexuality and as me as a person shoved down my throat. I had to follow this narrow path. But it's not just family as well. There is every 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 group has that person that literally wants to shove down their beliefs down your throat, and that's how our country is kind of like, how can I say it, praising them in a way. I'm trying to think, because this is Roe versus Wade is one of those huge topics that
Well, yeah,
basically one person in authority said, hey, let's shove it down the throat. Abortion's bad. We don't care if it's life threatening. We don't care if you are in a bad situation for it. We don't care about your own choice. Just because that one person shoving it down your throat saying abortion should be illegal because you're killing an innocent baby, they're not looking at the whole picture because they're close minded. That's the kind of thing. I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and there is a lot of issues with every single group. So
Oh, sorry. Go on. Oh, I just want to just state on off of a couple things. One of the things that you said is a little contradictory to something you said previously.
Oh.
Only because you made it, at least from everything that I heard earlier, you had made it seem like the younger generation's the only one that's being influenced by social media because they're the ones that know how to work it.
That was contradictory now that I'm thinking about it. I have cognitive issues, so yeah.
It's fine. Because older generations are still being influenced.
Yep.
My mom's not even old. My grandparents have technology. Like, they are using
What you
technology
call Agathon old earlier.
True, you did.
I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
It's just people call me a baby when they're I'm 23, when they're 29, and I'm sitting here like, really? I knew what Moon's shoes were. I knew Tamagotchis. I will start bringing up all of this 90s stuff that I had as a kid, because the 90s didn't end until the early 2000s. Anywho. But again, it's one of those things. We're limiting ourselves to ages and to experiences when we need to, like... I'm sorry, go on.
No, I want to let you finish your point. After that, I want to bring it back to the topic. I have a few questions I want to ask the entire panel, so I'll let you finish, and then I'll take over.
The older generation is also being influenced, whether it be by politicians, and I feel like they're more easily influenced by politics because I hate politics and I'm a young person because politics it was taught but not like extensively, and again, it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm like, I have no say in where this country is going. And that's how I feel, and that's why I don't like it.
You do.
Well,
but you do.
I think you do. You do.
Yeah, we do.
Locally. You vote locally. You vote. Your politicians matter. Your voice matters, and that's why when people say that our votes don't matter, there's no point in voting. Yes, they do. Please vote.
Yeah.
Please pay attention to who's running for legislation. Please pay attention to who your local chapters are ran by. Even goes down to your council members in your small towns of less than 5,000 people. Pay attention to who's running your churches. Pay attention to who's running your schools. Pay attention to who's in charge at any place, and make sure that you are actively working for the better. Because if you say, I don't feel like it matters, or what you were saying earlier, then you are only a part of the problem, not the solution. You have to do the research, you have to do the work, and you have to be involved. If you're not involved, you're not making any movements for the better.
But let's be honest here.
Go ahead, Ash.
I was just gonna say, let's be honest here. With abortions, with all of these other laws being put in place, with how the boomers did, not the boomers, but the older generation did fuck the young people. I grew up with depression. There is so much stuff that happened in my life. There's so much stuff that happened in a ton of people's lives where the majority of us are going through some type of struggle at a younger age. So it's really, like, as much as I would love to, be active, it's hard to be active when I know a lot of people are struggling and that's not where their mindset is. Like, politics is not where they are at when I'm there. Not saying that that gives me any right not to do it, because I mean, obviously, I want to and would put forth the effort, stating I'm in a better spot than I was. But there are so many people who just don't have the time to worry about politics because they're worried about food on the table, children that they don't want being born, having to make the choice if they want to, like, abort the child. There's so many other things that are just so much more concerning because they gave us these issues to. It's just a lot to juggle for the younger generation, which.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
get something like, are you saying like, I don't know if I can't do those things, if I can't pay attention because I have too many things going elsewhere, if I can't pay attention to who's running or who's doing what and who's in power, what can I do to change it? You can sign petitions. You can join groups of communities of people who are doing those things for you, but stay educated, stay enlightened, stay enriched with that type of information.
I'm gonna
Where do
comment
you
on
get that
that, Freckle. Yeah, but I just want to ask a question, Freckle. Don't you think this is a either wealthy or educated person privilege to have all that power you talk about? Because I agree with you. I think I have this power. I think everyone in this panel does. But as Ash was saying, if you are living paycheck to paycheck, you are struggling. You're working 3 jobs. You are struggling all the time. You don't have the time to look at this. You don't have the time, and frankly, I don't think I could ask. And it's sad because these are the people that would benefit the most from having, as you said, impact and influence, but they don't have the time, and they can't do it because they have so many life-threatening situations they need to deal with before trying to even think about changing things.
Then I would say to that, I would never like step in my feet in somebody else's life and say, hey, you need to be doing this or you're not like helping the issue. I would say to that, if you are a well-bodied person who is capable of doing those things, keep in mind the 3 people behind you that can't, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep in mind those people that
isn't
can't.
Isn't it our? I'd say our because I kind of include all of us.
Yeah.
Maybe in some more privileged people on this panel. We all have kind of internet connection. We all have time to appear on this panel for a few hours, which is it's not something I can say about everyone. We all have a roof over our head. We all have food. Many of us were eating and drinking during the show, which is not something a lot of people would not. Isn't it our work, our job, or our role to do something for those who can't?
Yeah, and we're doing it right here, right now.
That's
right
what I'm thinking too.
Yep. Yep, and we are, and it's so important, and it's so big because there are, like you said, there are so many people that can't do it for themselves, and that's okay because I was 18 when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter for the first time, right? So I had to find an apartment. I had to work 3 jobs, and I went to college. I would not have given you the time of day to talk about politics. There was no way. It was so far from my mind. There was no way I would have been able to talk to you about that. Once my life settled and I became who I am as an adult, that's when I took the liberty and the freedom that I had, to be able to not worry and stress about those things as much anymore, to become the person that I want to become now. And that's all I'm saying is, if you have that space in your life, then act on it. If you have that space in your life, then act on it. Do something. You can sign a petition as easily as you sign a check. You can go to a council meeting, right? Those are only like an hour and a half long. And in today's day and age, there are people without Wi-Fi. There are people without AC. There are people without those types of things. But you're gonna find people who have those, and as long as you're using it to your best capabilities and you're fighting the good fight for the things that matter, then that's That's what I'm trying to convey here.
You're giving me then the perfect segue into the question I had lined up right now. I would like to ask every one of you, and I will give you at least 1 minute each uninterrupted to respond, because I'm very interested in each and everyone's answer for that. There has been a lots of demonstration and protests today in the USA and the United States about Roe versus Wade. New York, Washington, Boston, Philadelphia. I think there's many big cities that have been hit with major protests. I would like to know each and every one of you. I'll give you a minute or more if you need it, uninterrupted. Do you think these will have any impact? Is it a throwing a stone? Is it a shot in the dark, or is it really worth it? Is it something that's worth doing, or not? Is it a waste of time? Sid, Muffin, or Elish, it's been a while since I heard from you. Any one of you want to go first on this one?
I think with the protest, I think it's a great thing, but I feel as though if it gets to the point where these protests become violent or outrageous or not peaceful in any way, shape, or form, whether it be on the side of the protesters or the side of the peace officers, it's going to turn into a joke and people aren't going to take us seriously. And they're going to say, well, these people just went out and threw a tantrum because they don't like what's happening. Why should I support them? And I believe that if it stays peaceful, it's a great thing to do. It's sad watching people give out the advice. Make sure you're covering your tattoos. Make sure you're not touching your eyes. Make sure you're writing your lawyer's name on your name and phone number on your arm and wearing long sleeves. I feel like it shouldn't have had to get to that point where we're giving this advice before the protest even starts. But if we don't speak up and give that voice and show people that we are serious and we need this, who's going to take us seriously? But if we're going to get violent and throw a tantrum, nobody's going to take us seriously.
That's a good point. Elish, anything to do on this one? To say on this one? You are muted.
Yes, I'm muted. I was trying to find my mouse. But no, I agree with Sid Muffin. It has gotten to a point where we want to do the peaceful protesting, and now because of, and this has been issues going on for years, even with the Civil Rights Act, there is a certain extent to where peaceful protests can go violent, depending on how it goes. But with these protests as well, I vote and everything like that, and I protest, but I do both. Generally, some people, if they will on the protest, I hope they are willing to also vote and sign those petitions as well, and just not there just because, oh, I'm going with the crowd, but not backing the crowd, if that makes sense. I wholeheartedly agree with peaceful protesting. I really do. I just hope that they put the work in with that protesting to make a change and just not walk out there.
Agathon? I didn't put you on the spot. You had two people to prepare your answer.
No, I'm just thinking about how I want to word this because it is going to be on the internet forever.
You are also a Twitch streamer, so careful about your channel.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, go protest. Let your voices be heard. It doesn't matter about what the media says, about what anybody does. You're protesting to the people who are looking at you going, these are the people who are going to vote for me. I better make the right decision. But I feel like we've been protesting for so much lately for basic human rights. And, you know, it gets to that point. I'm not a violent person, but fuck, when does this war start? When do we start eating the rich? I'm fucking done.
Oh, careful, buddy, careful. I've seen people losing their Twitch channel for less.
I just protest peacefully, but
yeah.
damn, they Look at all the Black Lives Matter. A lot of those got attacked by people who didn't agree with them. And I hate it. I hate that we have to protest all of this stuff that's just basic human rights. But yes, go protest. Vote.
Yeah. Good save. I agree with your points, by the way. Ash or Freckled? Anyone who jump into this one?
I'll jump in. First of all, fuck yes, go protest. But anyway, back to where I really want to put in my thoughts is I would love to see the stats as to the violence that happens, because at least from everything media-wise that I've seen with Black Lives, women's rights, LGBTQ+, a lot of the times when there's protest, the police are heavily involved right from the beginning to stop it, like it's going to get violent. When a lot of the violence I see is from the police. And then it's really interesting to see our protesting compared to that of the what is it the insurrection that happened back on the 6th of January. Yeah, so, and how they can do so much damage, and they can cause this whole they got into the Capitol without being like there was it's just the violence that came from that the police just stood by. I didn't see any tear gas. I didn't see a lot of things that I saw with, protesting from LGBTQ plus, women's rights, Black lives in that in there. So it really makes me think who's starting the violence and for what groups and what allegiances. Like, what's happening here? Why are there these certain protests that are looking like this, and protests attacking the Capitol that is so supposed to be one of the most secured places in the world, not the world, but the U.S., that I thought I would never be able to do something like that without getting, hurt, severely injured, possibly, gone. I don't understand. If someone has an explanation, like an actual facts, I would love it, but it seems it seems like it seems all theoretical and opinionated. And from what I see, and from my opinion, it's very biased towards one group being able to do whatever they want, and then the other group being seen as these vicious people who are angry, when really we're just tired. I'm speaking for a really big group, which I said I don't want to do. I'm tired, and I haven't been in this fight long. Like Agathon said, we've been doing this not only recently so much, but in the course of history, we've been fighting for everyone's basic human rights, and it's insane. How have we not come to a point where we're happy yet? Will we? I'm tired.
Thanks for your input. And Ginger, last answer to that question. Is it worth it? Is it gonna bring any results, or is it just gonna feed the anti-crowds by creating some quote-unquote reason to point out and say, look, it just goes violent, and they're just going to do the thing that they did with Antifa is violent, and they're going to use that as a reason to recruit more people on their side, even though they're just going to misrepresent the fact, in my opinion.
So is your question, do protests matter? Is that your
in
question?
That case, yeah, the protest that happened today, does it matter, and will it bring any results? Or
yes, it matters. Yes, and it matters because if Ash, what you were talking about, if you take a look at our government, it's all systematic control. There's a reason why there's only two options, right? There's a reason why, fuck the middle, let's have a left and a right. It's all
I'm the middle. I'm the middle.
Yeah, but,
you're not
in America,
yeah,
the middle doesn't go anywhere. We don't get to have middle representation anyway. Liberal.
That's a topic that
right.
Gimp brought earlier, by the way, about the two-party system. That seems to be a problem, which I agree, because we don't have that in Canada. We have at least 4 or 5 parties, and I think we are gonna have another show about that. I took notes from Gimp's comment, by the way.
But back to the protest. I don't know what is Twitch friendly and what's not Twitch friendly. I do have a streamer account
Just
that I would like to keep up.
wishing harm on other people, whatever
I
what they
don't
are,
wish
it's
harm
not Twitch
on other
friendly.
people.
Good.
However, you should always protect yourself. You should always go
That's
protect.
fine. That is fine.
Okay. And obviously, any protesters out there, I want you to stay safe, and I want you to remain well, and I want your job to be done at the end of the day, as far as getting said what needed to be said, getting moved what needed to be moved, right? So you need to do that safely. If you cause damage, or if things go violent in any way, they will use that other side. Oh, look, they're just throwing a temper tantrum because they're not getting what they want. Oh, look, now they're going to burn down buildings because of this. They're going to use that, and they're going to peg you as violent. So if you don't want your protest to matter like that, if you want your protest at the end of the day to say, you know what, I stood out there, I said what needed to be said, I stood for what needed to be done, and then you go home and you go home safe, that's how you protest. However, if Roe v. Wade turns over, I don't know how safe it's gonna be. I don't know how safe protests are going to be for women, because if you had talked about Moose earlier, you had talked about making sure you write your lawyer's number on, or your lawyer's name on your arm, and making sure you're covering tattoos so that way you can't be easily identified. If you don't think they weren't doing that back in the civil rights movement, if you don't think they weren't trying to cover any trace of identity of who they were, you are sadly mistaken. No big change, no good change has ever happened in America without a damn fight. And so if you want something to change, you're going to have to fight for it. Do it safely and protect yourself, and don't do harm to others, but do what you need to do, right? Go where you need to go. Say what you need to say. Wear the shirts you need to wear. Make the signs you need to wear. March where you need to march. March straight up to the Capitol. March straight up to the White House. March wherever you need to go. Keep yourself safe, but don't not protest. Don't not do it.
Do you think, I see a question, Ash, I'll go back to you in a second. Do you think that applies to every side? Because when the right-winger did that after Trump, they did that, they marched through the Capitol, they did exactly what you suggested, and they've been shunned and they've been laughed at for doing it. Just bring devil's advocate here, I guess.
Well,
because they followed the exact same advice you just gave.
But I don't think they did. Well, they also went on to. They're also just being disruptive. Destruction of property, is that like? Aren't you like? Isn't there like rules to not going there, or to it wasn't necessarily. I would say some of it was violence. There were people.
They went there with the intent to harm others. There was talk of lynching people.
Mm-hmm. And that's where they crossed the line. That's where it went to, from protest to a needless act of violence. And
thank you. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, it's a needless act of violence if you go in to intend harm. If you go to an intend to be protesting, and it ends up being a fight, that is whoever starts it. That's on them. But you gotta. I agree with Ginger wholeheartedly. Protect yourself. You have to, because if you don't protect yourself, who else is going to protect you?
Certainly not the police.
Exactly.
Certainly not the police.
Exactly.
They're not going to protect you. They're not going to protect you. In fact, when they come to protest, they come with the intent of knowing, yep, some shit's gonna get sour, and I'm gonna do what I have to do to stop this protest. So just go. Be safe. Don't go with the intent to hurt anybody. But yes, protests matter. And if you don't protest, then you're not going to get anywhere where you want to be.
Okay, Ash, and then I'm going to go. Okay, Sid, you wanted to go? Sid, Ash, and then I'm going to go with one last question.
am I going?
Yes, go ahead, Simwifin.
Okay, I will say, as far as the police aren't going to protect you, it's so sad to hear. My uncle is a police officer, and I know I've heard him speak, and I'm not saying one bad apple, whatever, as far as police violence and police brutality goes, but I know that when my uncle goes out there, he says, I'm going out to the riots, here's my life 360, here's my location, if you don't hear from me, this is where my phone is. And he's just as scared to go out to those protests as protesters are. And I don't think that.
Oh, you cut out. I think we lost you, Simwifin.
No, Sid!
Sid, no, come
That's-
back. Come back to us.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Oh.
We lost you for like the last 10 seconds.
Oh, I was saying, I don't think that makes him a weak cop or anything, but I don't think he wants to cause harm to people, but he also needs to protect himself. And there's a lot against police when it comes to that, and there's a lot of people who think, oh, a police officer, they're here to do this, that, or the other, and that's not always the case. So I do want to stand up a little bit for the police officers, that not all of them want to go out and cause harm to these protesters, but there are a lot of police officers who do, and they are the bad cops, and they are the ones who do the police brutality and murder innocent people. That's all I wanted to say.
Ash, you wanted to finish on this one?
Oh, my whole thing was I wanted to like say something that I read on in the comments that one of your followers said that I was just like too, and it has to go back to abortions, and well, has to go back on the topic of like sex and that kind of stuff. So it's completely off topic. So I can either share or I can like save it, because I have it right here. Like I screenshotted it and everything, because I thought it was just another like really good example.
Well, go ahead. Share it. Then I'm gonna ask my last question. Then we're gonna go to closing statements.
Okay. The person said sexualize teens for adult TV shows every day and still expect young people not to be curious.
I saw that
I
too.
think
Yeah.
I thought that was really well said. And like it speaks for itself. So I just
that's
thought
it?
that should have been discussed.
okay.
I saw it and I was like, that
Yeah.
needs to. If they didn't read that comment, everyone else needs to hear it. So
True. No, yeah, that we were talking earlier about teen having sexual relationships at a teenager year between himself, and talking about contraceptions. And yes, I agree. You cannot sexualize a society and then be surprised when younger people act on it. I think that's a comment that makes sense. Thank you for pointing it out. I have one last question here. I want to bring. We're gonna do 5 minutes on this one. Then we are gonna jump to closing statement. This is a question from Pizza, who was waiting for a flight earlier, and I don't know where we're gonna go in this one, but I'm quite curious to see what you guys think about this. She says, and get ready for this. Do you think Roe vs. Wade would not be an issue right now if Trump was elected for a second term?
wait, what?
Do you think we will not be discussing Roe v. Wade right now if Trump was elected for a second term? Damn,
I'll
everyone's
let someone
silent
else
on this
go
one.
first. I'm gonna. I need a.
It's so hard because in those 4 years, like, there was always something. So would we still be talking about this? I think we would, but I think it would be lesser on the list of things that have already been going wrong. I just feel like if we had another 4 years of him, other things would be destroyed. We'd
Okay,
be
then do you
losing
think
rights
it
for others.
Do you think it would still happen, but it would be under the radar because there will be other things to...
I don't think it would be under the radar. I think it would happen, but I think we would be oversaturated with so much shit right now that we might be desensitized and just be like, well, it's another Tuesday. Wait, what day is it?
Sorry. Okay, well then let me rephrase the question in my own view then. Do you think we are making... I hate the phrasing. Correct my phrasing if sorry I'm French, but do you think we're making a big deal about this because it happens under what is seen as a potentially left-wing government, and it's unexpected that it happens under Democrats? Or you think people will expect this to happen more under Republican government, or it's out of the government's hands anyway, and it's just the Supreme Court doing their own thing?
So we have a liberal president, but I mean, there's still a lot of Republicans in office. The majority of our Supreme Court is made up of Republicans. So regardless of whether or not we have a... What?
No, go ahead. I see Elish after that.
Regardless of the fact that our president is liberal, our whole government has to make this decision, and they're choosing it. So I don't think necessarily I don't think it fucking matters who's president. That's honestly not the most important election.
Okay, if it happens to be overturned, do you think it's going to be seen as a something? Is it going to be seen as somehow of Biden's legacy, or people are going to see it being different?
So can I jump on your original question really quick?
Yes, and then we go to Elish, who had the question.
Okay.
Raised too.
So I just want to point out that infringement on women's rights has been culturally activated by the Republican Party for decades now. They have intentionally moved out of places within the Senate. Gosh, I'm drawing of her on my fridge. She passed away during Trump's presidency.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh.
Yes. And every time we have, as a Democrat, we've lost every time we've lost them.
Justice.
So thank you. They have cultivated that move of who exactly they want in there to make the votes swing the way that they want them to swing when it comes to big bills like Roe v. Wade. So yeah, this has been happening for decades, and it wasn't going to be dependent on who the president was at the time. It's who is in control of the votes. And right now that's the Republican Party, unfortunately.
It has been.
And it has been, and that's ultimately the way it goes. I don't think it has really anything to do with who's president. I mean, Donald Trump didn't help any matter, right? Donald Trump definitely didn't keep his mouth quiet about things and made it a point to cause chaos. But the move for the infringement on reproductive rights for women or those who carry a uterus has been actively worked on for decades now.
Excellent. And Elish, you're gonna go for the last interaction tonight, and then we will go for the closing statements after that.
Well, going on to the original question about Trump, because I actually, the thing is, with all the allegations and everything that when Trump got into office, he brought a lot of drama. And he wasn't a good representation of a good person, in my opinion. But the thing is, with his constant, degrading of women, special needs, LGBTQ, I agree with Agathon, and about we were dealing with a bunch of situations like the Korea threat, the Russia threat, that kind of thing. We were dealing with situations like that. I don't think Roe versus Wade would be as low on the totem pole as he thinks. It would be a major issue because of the way the president acted and how he reacted to how he said to how people would say he was wrong or something like that. So I think it would be a serious issue. And with this going on with the Democrats and stuff like that, it doesn't matter what type of government who's leading it right now, because you have these close-minded people that want to push their ideals onto other people. So if it wasn't going to happen now, it's going to happen in another few years or something like that. And as I agree with Ginger, they have been trying to go after this since the Roe versus Wade bill did come around. It just got heavier once we lost that Supreme Justice that was on our side with the Roe versus Wade. And they were able to put somebody in that could sway that one vote. One vote is all that can happen that can change the whole entire situation. And then when we lost that one vote, that's how this whole situation started, basically.
Agathon, you've been directly named on this reaction, so if you want to have a minute to respond, if you have anything to say, I'll give it to you. Nope. Okay. Awesome. Well, we are gonna go to closing statement. That has been a awesome evening so far, and I want to make sure every one of you get the attention and the recognition you need for the incredible work you did tonight and contribution to the discussion. I will give each other 1 to 3 minutes to do a closing statement. You can repeat your more important point. If there's anything you missed you wanted to say, please feel free to go ahead. And at the same time, if you happen to be a content creator or you have anything you want to be followed on, please make sure to shout yourself out. This is the time. I would like everyone in the audience to make sure to go follow all these awesome panelists tonight. They've been doing an incredible job, and I've been having a blast. We will go in the reverse order for last time. So since we ended with you last time, Agathon, I'll give you the first.
Okay, yeah. So Agathon, 89, Jordan. Honestly, just it boils down to men shouldn't have any say of what happens with a woman's body. Just this shouldn't be a fucking issue anymore, and I hate that it is. And for all the female audiences that are watching this or watching it on YouTube, know that we got a lot of supporters, and we're not gonna let this slide. Two, this might be lame, but I have a set of rules I like to live my life by that I came up with in my mid-20s and kind of been adding to. I'm just gonna share those, and if it's stupid, please let me know. But I like them. But number one, if someone asks for help, you help. Number two, if given a choice, choose kindness. And number three, if you're not given a choice, choose yourself. Everyone be safe. Love you all.
Agathon, you're awesome. Ash? I think you're muted right now. I cannot hear you.
So I just said I thought we were going in reverse order, but okay, I'll go.
Well, I forgot the order anyway, so.
Should have asked me. I remembered. Wow. First of all, I want to say, Agathon, if you know who Leroy Jethro Gibbs is, which obviously you don't from that reaction.
Did you just reference CIS?
He just said he has a number. He has a number list for his rules. Come on, how could I not? Anywho,
I was more thinking about Jordan Peterson when he said he has rules for life, but there you go. I don't think he wants to be associated with Jordan Peterson.
First of all of you guys, it's lovely meeting you. I don't think I've had the pleasure, besides Asparagus, but yeah. And then I had to throw in a little bit of shade. You're the host. I can't be nice to you all the time.
That was awfully dismissive. Okay.
No, honestly, Asparagus, thank you again so much for having a non-content creator be here. And again, if you guys enjoyed anything that I said, which would be a shock to me, I'll continue to come on here. So if you want to follow me through him. I'll show up when I can. I love debating. I will debate topics that I'm not familiar about, but it's because I like being here. My main thing that I want to say is one of my favorite YouTubers, his name's Philip DeFranco. He says, "Don't be stupid," and also his little remedy of what he lives his life by is like be nice. Don't be mean. If it doesn't concern you, don't let it concern you. If you have a body, do what you want with it. Have hair where you want to have hair. Do what you want with it, because in all reality of things, this is the only life that you get. And that's the choices that happen are your choices. So, it's been a pleasure. And all of you guys are lovely to have this discussion with. So,
Ash, as usual, it's been a pleasure to have you aboard. And every time you want to come back, you will be more than welcome. And good thing it's not a debate, because using dogs and cats is obviously cheating and it's against the rules. So,
well, that's why I wanted to I brought her up at the end. She's just been so quiet, and I just wanted to give her the praise that she deserved, and everyone to just admire how adorable she is. Although my boyfriend says she's ugly, that's really she just.
she is adorable. I disagree with your boyfriend.
I agree.
Ginger, Freckle Ginger.
Hi, yeah, so it's been fun. I was nervous as shit. Not gonna lie. I was like, oh my god, I wrote down like a notebook worth of notes and I came prepared with statistics and percentages. And so this was my first time coming around to this, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to Asparagus for holding a space on your content for me and my opinions, what they matter to you know, whether they do or not. I just am grateful to be able to have a space to share what I think. And it's been lovely getting to chat with all of you. It's always great, even if we're all in collective agreement on the same issue. It's still wonderful to see why we're in agreement and how we became in agreement and what we are going to do together to make sure that the wrong things that are happening in this country don't take place. I do want to just go ahead and point out that if you are somebody who is scared right now for what is taking place and what is going on, you should be. This is a complete infringement of your rights. And look into your local communities of like-minded people who are actively fighting against this and see what you can do. I have a multitude of resources if you're wanting to donate or just get further education on. Don't hesitate to DM me on Discord. I have plenty of resources I can send you for you to be able to look into. But for my people of color, I'm sorry, because this directly impacts you way more than me, way more than anybody else. You're 3 times as likely to die of mortality during pregnancy, and for me, that's not okay. That'll never be okay. So I want you to know that I'm here. I am pro-choice. I stand by the fact that the government needs to take their hands out of my vagina and let me make my own choice. And if you do protest safely.
Well said. Thank you so much, Frickle. First time here, and I very much wish that it's not your last time. You have been a very awesome guest tonight. And it's Gimp who just responded directly to your comment. He says, don't be scared. Be angry enough to express your dissatisfaction. I think that reaches exactly what you wanted to tell us. Sid Muffin. Thank you, Gimp. Sid Muffin, second time on the show. We're still waiting for you to give us a shout out with your big time friend, multi-million YouTuber friend, but it's okay. We still appreciate you being here.
I do want to say thank you, Asparagus, for letting me join you again. And thank you for letting me express my opinions. And it was great talking to all of you. I feel like I learned a lot personally here. And I would love to pick brains more on different topics. And don't forget that me having a safe and legal abortion is not going to affect the way you sit next to me on a city bus.
That was well said. Thank you so much, Sid Muffin. I hope, as I said to everyone, I hope I see you again on the panel. And last but not least, we go to Elish, who was here for the first time tonight and did an incredible job. Any closing statements, and if you want to tell us who you are and where people can find you if you want to be found?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not a content creator. I'm more just here and vibing. But I am so happy that you actually did let me come onto the panel. Even there was some bumps in the road, I really did enjoy meeting new people and finding out more opinions on other people's ideas. And even though we are in agreement with some stuff, I'm glad we all have our own perspectives and our own ways of seeing it, even though we are in agreement. This is a huge, huge thing that is a problem, because we never know. This might be the first step to basically a dictatorship. You never know. That's why you need to have your voice heard. You need to have your own free will. This country was built on us being free. How is the government going to ask us to get rid of our freedom just to say, oh, you can't have abortions? That's the first step to dictatorship. Even though it might seem small, it could mean a huge thing down the line. It's your choice, your freedom. And this is what this country is supposed to be about. And they're just destroying our freedom one step at a time.